Youth Weekly, Euthanizing News.
Hello, and so nice of you to join us in yet another scintillating edition of your favorite youth program, Youth Weekly on UTV Africa, bringing you gist of news making headlines in the language and perspective of young people. I am Helga Apollos.
And I am Sandra Ikeri. You're welcome to the program. Here is a rundown of the major issues that made headlines in the course of the week. Over 1.7 million sits for JAMB UTME Saturday.
Presidency decries lack of modern forensic DNA lab for police.
Still on the presidency, corruption, Jonathan disagrees with U.S. assessment of Nigeria.
Bloodbath in Maiduguri, 185 killed as soldiers Boko Haram clash.
2015, we are set for battle, APC leaders.
Ibadan fire, 500 million naira property lost, council boss.
In northwestern Nigeria, medical treatment takes off for victims of lead poisoning in Zamfara State.
Senate opens debate on renaming UNILAG, Moshood Abiola University. British
couples arrested for attempting to smuggle Nigerian baby into UK.
Jigawa empowers 200 youths on e-transact business.
And on the sports scene, very intriguing, Barcelona Real Madrid defeat. How are the mighty fallen? These were some of the issues that made headlines in the course of the week. Join us as we engage in discussion segments. Stay with us.
Don't go away.
Youth Weekly, Euthanizing News.
We are part of the solution.
We bring you youth perspective on issues. Youths have a voice.
We have a story to tell.
Youth Weekly, Euthanizing News.
The program is still Youth Weekly, and this is our discussion segment. This week we had very interesting headlines.
Indeed.
And I sincerely want to wish every person that will be partaking in JAMB this weekend, I wish you good luck. I hope your efforts pay off. But the comment coming from the registrar is really disheartening.
Okay.
Because in as much as I believe in faith and I believe in hard work, I also pray too. But these are facts he just brought out. He said just 520,000 students would get admission out of the over 1.7 million students to sit for this exam. Exactly. That's very painful.
Well, if you consider the previous figures, you would actually see that progress has actually been made in that regard, because the previous figure was 450,000.
Yeah.
All right. So an increasing number of students will be able to get admission into tertiary institutions as a result of these exams this year. So although we do not have yet an avenue of increasing the figure beyond that for now, but I can say we've achieved some reasonable progress.
Yeah, sure we have, because
within the time frame given. And if we continue to make progress in that regard, I think subsequent years will see more and more young people get admission through the UTME examinations. Right? So actually there's a good side to it. However, if you consider the disparity in the figures as well, 1.7 million writing and then 520,000 getting admission,
a large one. That's a very
wide
one.
difference.
I would want to applaud the government, because this year they've set up new universities. They have the Federal University Lafayette, University of Lokoja, and so many new stuff. I think that was why there's an increase in the number of admissions available to students. But I come from a school of thought where if you know the end result, why don't you just work with what you have? If you know you can only offer admission to just 520,000 students, why would you keep sending out forms to over 1.7 million people? So what would happen to the remaining 1.2 million students? Where would their funds go to? Because from every household in Nigeria, somebody is writing JAMB.
Yes.
And so an average home in Nigeria, 4 million is quite a huge amount of money, because that could be someone's salary for a month. Now, if you already have a predetermined value or number that could be offered to students, why would you still sell out from? I come from a school of thought, if you know you just have 520,000, work with that figure so that everyone partaking of this will know they can get admission. I don't know how they would work it out, but I think there should be modalities to take care of that.
Well, if you put it that way, it will also rule out giving opportunity, a fair playing ground to every other person.
Okay.
All right, it's a clean platform where every young person, every young secondarian gets to have the chance or a shot at getting an admission into a tertiary institution.
Okay.
So if you're saying only those available spots in the universities will be given for those who are going to write JAMB, you are simply saying
no. I feel something. I feel some.
A lot of other people
no, I feel like
actually,
if you want to get JAMB, it should be based on your qualification. Because in Nigeria, I'm sorry to say, we know it's man who knows man getting admission. Although I was very lucky to get on time, but I'm not really positive that it exists. Because you see some people that don't even have WAEC results getting admission into the university, and you have like 250 and you have like 8 A's in your WAEC, and you're still sitting at home. You want to question what's happening.
However, I hope that the regulatory bodies, the examination regulatory bodies, JAMB, will be able to actually address that issue. It's
seriously,
actually quite
because
alarming.
it's painful.
But it's actually also disturbing the level of corruption,
yes,
you know, and misappropriation involved in these regulatory bodies. You know,
seriously.
Last time in the news, we were talking about scrapping of both the UTME and the examination bodies due to, you know, redundancies.
Yeah.
And we were also highlighting the fact that there are corruptions. You see papers leaking before the examination times.
Sure.
And that brings me to another issue in the news. You know, Jonathan was actually trying to disagree with the U.S. assessment
I read that.
of Nigeria in terms of corruption.
Yes.
You know, and he was saying that even some of the agencies in the United States, General Electric, for instance, and ExxonMobil, who are bidding for the bundling of the PHC and recently.
I think you already did.
You know, yes. And he was saying that these bodies were saying they will be able to go into business with Nigeria because they've been able to make progress in checkmating corruption. But my question is, should the justification for corruption be based on these people's commentaries or based on the realities that exist in our government bodies?
Because the issue of corruption is not just the US talking about it. Any Nigerian you even meet abroad will tell you of the corruption problem in Nigeria.
Yes.
But the thing is that corruption just comes on a large scale when you talk about the federal government. How about at the low levels, individual level?
Yes.
How clean are you? Do you transact business that are not clean? But because you feel it's the federal government and they have huge figures attached to it, you think it's just them that are corrupt. An average Nigerian is corrupt, forgive me.
Yeah, it's the case of the kettle calling the pot black.
Seriously.
You know? And it really brings to question the state of our morality.
Yeah.
We really need to actually develop a moral backdrop that could checkmate corruption at all levels.
Yes.
All right. It's glaring from the top government because, of course, they are in the seat of power. They have access to public funds.
Yeah.
All right. So it's very open. It's very easy to see how they are looting public office. And that is for a fact.
Yeah.
All right. In as much as the president is actually discounting the assessment by the United States Department, you know, you cannot discount the fact that corruption truly exists at a very terrible rate.
Yes.
It's alarming.
It's even more glaring to the present government because one of his major agenda in his manifesto was to battle corruption in this country. And we know that corruption is institutionalized in Nigeria. There is no against arguing that.
And there's no harm in humility in admitting that problem exists.
Yeah.
But of course, efforts are being made. But the question is, how efficient are these measures?
And that's another problem.
If the regulatory agencies like the ICPC, the EFCC are also corrupt, because even in the statement of the current chairman of the EFCC, corruption exists within that body.
And that's another issue we have to, because the president has the power to appoint, you know, officers of these anti-graft agencies. Now, you want to start asking, does this body have to be independent, like have autonomous power of their own? Because you can't, you can't bite the finger that feeds you.
Yes.
You understand? If I appoint you to a certain post, one way or the other, psychologically, you owe me your loyalty.
Of course.
Do you understand?
So
now you want to question
really
transparency. Yes.
Giving these bodies an autonomy that is, you know, without the interference of government and other top shots in the system, you know, so that they will be able to checkmate the issue of corruption in our country.
I would really want to say corruption at all levels is not allowed. We need to start changing our mindset. This is still Youth Weekly. We'll be right back for the second phase of our discussion segment. We'd like you to drop your comments on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/UTV Africa. Drop your comments, drop your observation. You could also visit our website www.utvafrica.com. Don't go away, we'll be back for the second phase of our discussion segment.
Youth Weekly, Euthanizing News.
We are part of the solution.
We bring you youth perspective on issues. Youths have a voice.
We have a story to tell.
Youth Weekly, Euthanizing News.
You're welcome back to the program. And if you're just joining us, this is still Youth Weekly on UTV Africa. And we have been discussing some of the key issues in the headlines this week. In order to shed more details on one other issue in the headline this week, we have a guest in the studio who is none other than Mr. Chike Uzowulu. He is a career development consultant. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, one issue that resurfaced in the headlines this week is the issue of the renaming of UNILAG, a very famous institution in Nigeria, as Moshood Abiola University. In your opinion, do you think this is a relevant development in terms of Nigeria's democracy as it is right now?
Thank you very much. First of all, I must say I'm surprised that issue is still in the front burner.
Yes.
Considering the negativity that trailed the announcement the president made on the Democracy Day last year.
Yeah.
And on that note, I want to say, with all due respect to the person of Mr. President and all the relevant stakeholders, that this is not a very, relevant decision right now, considering all of the issues, all of the national issues that we are grappling with right now, insecurity and all that. So for me, my opinion, it's not very relevant right now.
As it is right now, the bill is already in the National Assembly. If it gains support of majority of its members, it will become a law. What do you think is the likely impact it will have on the stakeholders? You have the students, you have the lecturers, you have the association, the alumni association. What do you think is the impact?
Well, the impact, before you look at the impact, you want to also give credit to Mr. President. That's his responsibility, and all that. But then for me, I think this is putting the cart before the horse, because this is what he could have done last year to start with, not to just go ahead and name the institution after Moshood Abiola. And that action had already preempted, the public and these stakeholders you're talking about. Now, right now, there are a lot of, negativity and something, issues surrounding the thing already. So I don't see that impression being corrected, even if the bill succeeds. And at the Senate.
Wow.
It's even surprising to me that the issue is actually coming up, considering the president was actually witness to the negative reaction that trailed the announcement last year, Democracy Day. And that brings us to the next question. Time and time again, we've seen government come out with policies that are not friendly to the people, that is not welcomed by the electorate. Now, what, in your opinion, do you think are the best ways to channel our disagreement, our grievances in situations and circumstances like this?
Okay. Well, whether anybody likes it or not, young people in any society, makes up a large constituency of the society. So young people in Nigeria have a stake, particularly when you're talking about education, we are talking about an institution like UNILAG. So for me, I think instead of these riots that we keep having here and there, I think young people should actually explore the path of organized protest. All right? You have the National Association of Nigerian Students, you have the Youth Council of Nigeria. They can even go through some civil society organizations. The NLC can also be a voice, can help them out. A coalition of these youth organizations can, have a stand, call a meeting and generate a memorandum of understanding. As this is the stand of people. For example, like NANS, the UNILAG branch can come up and the National Association can back them up. And with that, it looks more organized. You understand? Instead of all these pockets of riots here and there, it doesn't help anybody.
Wow. So much valuable insights from you, sir. Thank you for coming on the program. Any final words to our young audience out there?
Well, my final words to young people will always be for us to seek the path of peace. Fine, it's okay to disagree.
Yes.
But it's not always okay to fight. You don't get your way by fighting. You can make your demands known without violence.
We can fight it clean, right?
Yes.
Not fighting dirty.
Exactly.
That is what we mean. Sandra?
I'll just add to what he has just said.
Okay.
Never underestimate the power of unity. Yeah, I think that's very necessary now in this country.
Well, that's very interesting. Well, from me, I end with a quote by Winston Churchill. He said, "The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter." Wow. Your opinion matters to us, and it's very important that we keep on engaging in discussions around issues that actually affect our lives and our destiny. Let us know what you think. You can drop your comments on these issues and more on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/YouthTVAfrica. You could also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handler is @YouthTVAfrica. Let us know what you think. Do you think renaming UNILAG is actually a relevant development? Even as we are grappling with a lot of security and socio-economic situations, your opinions are very important to us. Well, that is all we can take on today's episode of Youth Weekly. Join us again on yet another interesting episode on this same station next week. From me, it's bye-bye and have a wonderful time.